Hi, I'm Clarissa Williams, host of Cookeville Now and Highlands Insider. We have the region's conservative voice newspaper coming to you soon. And for now, you can see us online and on YouTube and Facebook. We are joined today by Mr. Bailey. I'm so excited to see you here.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a sponsor. I know District 15 is important, and you represent all of our viewing audience.
Wonderful.
So we appreciate when we have people who will champion women's rights.
Right, absolutely. And in this event, from the very first inception of the Yellow Rose event, I have been a sponsor. In fact, Abby Williams came up to me a few minutes ago and basically said that how she has appreciated my support from the very beginning. And my goodness, what a wonderful crowd and great speakers that we had today. So this has truly been a wonderful event.
And Abby did a wonderful job kind of starting this whole thing, I think 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it was 3 years ago, yes.
And then it's grown to what it has today. It's just phenomenal.
Absolutely. And, you know, we see a lot of demographics in the room. We have, of course, politicians, but we also see a lot of business leaders. We see first responders. We see those that have moved here from other states participating in this event. And then we see those that are native here to the Upper Cumberland. So it's just a great group of individuals coming together to celebrate our 19th Amendment.
Yes, it's wonderful. Well, we have a lot of things to celebrate.
We do.
We have some good things going on that you all passed some new legislation in terms of ICE, and I'd like to give you an opportunity to talk about that and the success that you guys have had.
Absolutely. So when the legislature came into session in January, President Trump had been elected our president, and we knew that one of the main focuses of his administration was going to be dealing with immigration. And so in Tennessee, we had an issue that if law enforcement, whether it be your local law enforcement or state troopers or TBI, basically was interviewing someone or had stopped someone on a traffic stop or apprehended someone, there was no way to know whether or not that individual was on the FBI's wanted list or if ICE was looking for them. So the legislature, we passed legislation to create a immigration enforcement unit so that local law enforcement and as well as the Highway Patrol and TBI would have a one-stop shop to be able to contact that division within the Department of Safety to basically check that individual out to see whether or not they're legally present or not legally present in the U.S. or if there's any outstanding warrants wanted for them.
Well, that is fantastic. We know our viewing audience really appreciates the work that the Immigration Enforcement Group is doing. We have some folks who are not fans of ICE.
Sure.
But we appreciate it, and we support our local law enforcement. We know that is not an easy job, but we appreciate your work in helping make sure that they can do the job that they need to do.
Absolutely, and we appreciate all law enforcement so much, and I believe the Upper Cumberland absolutely appreciates all first responders, but especially our law enforcement.
Yes, I agree with you. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the things going on with the hospital and some of the legislation that just passed?
Yes, so Representative Williams and I carried some legislation this year. Actually, it was the fifth year for me to carry this legislation within the Tennessee legislature, basically to do what's called the repeal of corporate practice of medicine. A couple of years ago, Cookeville Regional Medical Center was put in a position to where their emergency room doctor corporation, because there's 4 medical professions that the state required the hospital to use a company or corporation to employ them, which was emergency room doctors, pathologists, radiologists, or anesthesiologists. And so a couple of years ago, Cookeville Regional's emergency room doctor corporation or company gave them notice that they were filing bankruptcy and they would have to find a new company to provide those emergency room doctors within 13 days. Cookeville Regional had no ability to basically have negotiating power with a new company company as far as bringing in those doctors to cover their emergency room. So Representative Williams and I carried legislation which was a statewide repeal of the corporate practice of medicine, which now gives them a hybrid. So the hospital has the ability to hire those 4 medical professionals independently, or they can continue to use a corporation or company. It just gives them more autonomy in being able to handle the needs of what their hospital has need of. And so this is very good for our rural hospitals. And I know Cookeville Regional Medical Center, they really stepped up and they helped us fight this fight in Nashville.
Oh, that's fantastic. I know they just had some expansions they talked about too, which is probably part of this. So we will ask them and ask you to come back for another interview on that topic so we can do a deeper dive, and maybe we'll invite some of those other rural hospitals as well, because that is so important to have good quality health care close to home and not have to travel far.
Absolutely. And one other thing, whenever we talk about health care, we're the only state in the nation that our TennCare, our Medicaid dollars, is block granted to us. That's legislation that I carried it's going to be 5 years ago now. It was right at the end of Trump's first administration. We filed for a block grant. I passed the legislation in the state of Tennessee, which allowed us to do shared savings. And so we told the federal government, we can save you money if you'll share some of those savings back to us. For the past 3 years, we've received $330 million in shared savings.
Wow.
That's nearly $1 billion.
That's phenomenal.
And one of the things that we promised Tennesseans, that if we pass this legislation, giving us the block grant, that we would cover additional populations. And so we've expanded that to give mothers that are on TennCare postpartum care for 12 months. We've also given adults that are on TennCare dental health insurance, which we all know that can lead to more serious health conditions.
Yes.
We've also provided funding for rural hospitals. So I can say that being the only state in the nation to be able to have a block grant for our Medicaid dollars, we're saving Tennessee taxpayers as well as federal taxpayers money, but at the same time, we're getting additional funding back from the federal government in those shared savings to cover additional populations.
And it's a good use of those funds that
Absolutely.
otherwise who knows what would happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Those dollars would have just stayed in Washington or gone back to Washington, and who knows, some other state may have used those dollars not covering additional populations. So we're doing an outstanding job. You know, the interesting thing is Tennessee actually leads the nation in a lot of these policies that we're seeing talked about in Texas and Florida. It always seems like those states are the ones that get all the national publicity, but Tennessee has usually passed those policies way before
We're the leader.
We're the leader, and just because we're a smaller state than those two states, they always get all the publicity. But Tennessee has been leading the nation now in many years on these issues that we're talking about today.
Well, there's two topics, and I can't remember. I think it was a couple of years ago. You had presented some legislation concerning our libraries and parental involvement, like a board of some sort. Is that dead? Do you think you'll be bringing anything like that back?
Well, I think what we wanted to do with the libraries, obviously, we were seeing a lot of, let's just say, shows that were being presented at the public library. There would be individuals called to reserve those library rooms and not necessarily give full information as to what they were planning on doing inside of those rooms. And so we were having drag shows, basically, or drag queens coming in and reading to individuals. I just really didn't feel like that was something that was a setting for our public library.
Right.
So we were trying to push back, and we did push back on that to basically to try to give those libraries, again, some autonomy to where if they wanted to refuse to allow those type shows to be presented inside their library, they could do that without being in violation. So, again, we're always, there's some communities that were okay with that, but here in the Upper Cumberland, we weren't.
Right.
And so we wanted to be mindful of those communities if they accepted that kind of activity to allow them to do that. But here in the Upper Cumberland, we wanted to make sure that that we could push back and give them the ability to say no on that.
Well, you may have received one of the same packets we received concerning some of the books in the library as well. what I would refer to as pornographic.
Right.
And I think that the majority would not want that in the library, especially accessible to minors. And I don't, is there anything that will be coming up to help safeguard in that area?
Well, we're always looking at those issues that are facing, especially in public libraries and any kind of printed material or even audio or video type material that are in public libraries. And it's a situation to where if those libraries want to have that material, it needs to be an adult section only. It doesn't need to be available for those under the age of 18. And
especially preschoolers.
Especially preschoolers, and we definitely need to protect their young children from being able to see that type of information and photography. So much so that, in Tennessee, we passed legislation this year relative to pornography sites that, any individual can pull up on their cell phone. Now you have to verify that you're over the age of 18.
Oh,
we're taking a lot of steps inside the state of Tennessee to push back on pornographic information and material that's coming out for our adolescents, and so that was one piece of legislation that we passed this year, requiring those pornographic sites to get verification, which includes a driver's license information to verify that you are over the age of 18 before you can even view those sites.
Well, that's fantastic. I know that a lot of our audience will be happy to hear that.
Absolutely.
The last question I've got for you, unless there's anything you'd like to share. I know that in the state of Tennessee, our city council folks do not have to designate political affiliation. Do you see that changing, going before the House and then hitting the Senate floor? Or do you think that that is going to remain just a local issue that...
Yeah, well, I think that the locals can decide if they want to call for, partisan elections, if you will, for their various office positions. I think we're seeing more and more counties go ahead and adopt, Republican primaries as well as Democratic primaries and have those individuals compete in whichever party that they so choose. I think that we're moving past, several years ago. In fact, it's not been that many years ago, probably 10 or 12 years ago, some of the counties here in the Upper Cumberland didn't have Republican primaries. We only had Democratic primaries, and then we've moved into where you now have local Republican and Democratic primaries. And the one little holdout has been school boards, and it's also been a lot of your city elections. And so we're actively pushing for those to be partisan elections. Look, if you're a Republican, you should be proud to come out and say that you're a Republican.
And if you're a rhino, we're going to put your voting records out.
That's right. And if you want to be a Democratic candidate, by all means, let the people know that. And so I think that that's one vetting process. There's been some pushback and say, oh, well, we don't need partisan, elections in a local city race. I disagree with that. Again, I think that if you're Republican, you should be willing to come out and say that you're Republican.
Absolutely. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share with the audience today?
Well, I would just like to say that, number one, congratulations on starting your new adventure.
Thank you very much.
It's exciting, especially to have a conservative news outlet here in the Upper Cumberland. So I'm going to be a new subscriber as of today. I did not know this, and so I picked up your little QR code, so I'll be subscribing today, and certainly want to become an advertiser on your page.
Well, we will welcome that. And since you mentioned it, I will take this opportunity to plug through August 20th, you can use code HIGH49 to get the print and online subscription for $49 for the whole year. And that will bring you coverage like this. That will bring you more in-depth coverage. And we will be in Putnam County, Overton County, White County, and Jackson County, but we have already had requests from additional counties to start similar publications. But like I said, we got to catch our breath first, and then we'll go into those other communities. But thank you so much.
You bet. And one thing that I wanted to mention, October 4th is my cowboy cookout.
We have that on our calendar,
Awesome.
and we will be there.
Yeah, October 4th, Duck Pond Manor in Sparta. And so 5:30, certainly want to invite your audience to come and be a part of the cowboy
And
cookout.
it's always fun to go to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
We look forward to catching up. We will welcome your legislative updates and be happy to send it out.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that very much.